We'll now hear from Ron Mitchell, who is the Executive Director of Global Lithium Resources.
Thanks very much. Firstly to the Paydirt team, fellow battery materials colleagues, and of course our existing shareholders. Great pleasure to be here. I'm here to talk about and provide an update on West Australia's fastest growing multi-asset lithium company. We've got a couple of really fantastic projects. We're going hard this year. We're not sitting back waiting on our launches, so we've got some really exciting updates to share with you today. Firstly, typical ASX disclaimer, please read this at your absolute leisure. Just quickly an overview. So what's important and one of the key differentiators with our company, two projects, both with maiden inferred resources, both at Marble Bar and Manna. So these are the two preeminent lithium jurisdictions, fantastic projects, starting positions. So Marble Bar firstly, up in the Pilbara, needs no introduction. Fantastic infrastructure nearby a project. We have sealed roads in and out very nearby. Very similar geological setting to two of the preeminent lithium projects up in the Pilbara, being Pilgangoora and of course Wodgina, only several hundred kilometres away from us. And importantly, we've got that maiden resource, 10.5 million tonnes at 1%. So that is just the start for us. Secondly, the Manna project, about 100 kilometres to the east of Kalgoorlie. Again, fantastic jurisdiction for lithium. There's a number of existing lithium mines in operation in and around our asset. And again, we've got a maiden resource there of 9.9 million tonnes at 1.14%. Of that project, we own 80%, together with Breaker, who owns a 20% stake. So importantly for us this year, it's all about drilling. We've got a huge campaign ahead of us, both in Marble Bar and Manna, around 80,000 metres between the two projects. So we're really excited that the work at Marble Bar has commenced, and the drilling campaign at Manna will be underway in the coming weeks. Just an overview of GL1. We had a terrific journey last year since listing in May. Second best performing IPO on the ASX, and we've really continued that momentum into the first quarter this year. Share price performing really, really well. 200 million shares on the register, and a market cap of, as of today, around 500 million. So really performing well. Capital raise a couple of weeks ago. We're cashed up to really advance our drilling campaigns and some additional study work. Almost 40 million in the bank. So this was really positioning us strongly for this next growth phase. In terms of our shareholding, quite a tight register. A couple of really important strategics. I'll talk about those strategic cornerstones we have on our register. One being a major Chinese player, one of the biggest producers of lithium hydroxide in China, and of course Mineral Resources, which needs no introduction. Breaker takes about a 5%, board and management about 5%, and we have a number of high net worth individuals also on the register, and the balance mostly been retail and a mix of instos. Board and management, the company's had a real focus on really building out the best team that we can get. And our board and management consists of a really fantastic mix of commercial and technical capability. Warwick Hazeldine, our non-exec chair, founder of Canning's Purple, and more than 20 years capital markets experience. I've been in the sector more than 11 years, been living and breathing the lithium industry, and I've got a lot of experience overseas working in various roles for both Talison and Tianqi, so big lithium. What really attracted me to GL1 was firstly the quality of the team, the assets, and really a fundamental understanding that we are very much in the early stages of this industry in terms of its growth. And coming back to grassroots spodumene exploration in Western Australia, such a fantastic brand internationally, was an opportunity too good to refuse. And I think Greg Lillyman is in the same position, a gentleman who needs no introduction. Greg, obviously, 2IC to Twiggy at FMG, lots of experience at Rio, more than 30 years mining experience up in the Pilbara, so he brings some really fantastic technical horsepower to the team. And our founder, Dr. Demin Chen, he was the one that really delivered the maiden resource at Marble Bar back in 2020. So prior to IPO, we came with a resource. We'd done a lot of the early work, so we knew what we were bringing to market. And Dr. Chen has been an really important part of bringing us to this point. Hayley Lawrence, a Ned who's recently joined the company, commercial lawyer by trade. She brings some fantastic experience assisting us in the approvals, and of course our ESG strategy, and we want to be a real leader in the ESG space. Kevin Hart, more than 30 years experience as a COSEC and a CFO. Importantly, worked for more than 20 ASX-listed companies. And on the geo side, we've got a really fantastic team that we're looking to build out. So Stuart Peterson, Head of Geology, has got some specific experience in Mount Marion. We have an exploration manager who's worked at Pilgangora, and of course, we're looking to bring in some additional fieldies, project geologists, and we're really just getting started on our exploration campaign this year. And Nicole Stain recently joined us, I think day 2, Nicole, helping us with community relations, stakeholder engagement, which is going to be a really important part of our business going forward. So just looking at the company, we've come a long way in less than 12 months. We actually have our 1-year listing party next month. But since June 2020, when we delivered the maiden resource at Marble Bar, we've been really, really aggressive, pushing. We've been involved in M&A, really extensive drilling campaigns, bringing, obviously re-rating opportunities to the market, doing the right deals at the right time. We've done deals with Suzo TANA, a really important strategic partner to help us on the downstream side of the business. I don't need to talk too much about demand supply. I think all of us in the room get it. The market's tight. But there's some really interesting stats I'd like to just raise here. And firstly, the penetration rates of electric vehicles globally. Now, the world's changed, and it's changing very quickly in terms of how consumers are responding to these vehicles. For example, in Europe, we're seeing penetration rates now in parts of Germany. 1 in 3 new cars purchased is electric. Norway's 1 in 2. The UK is 1 in 5. I think we're a little bit behind the curve here in Australia, but certainly I think we all acknowledge we're seeing more cars on the road, and that momentum will only continue. Most forecasts are sort of assuming by the end of 2040, sort of 1 in 3 new cars will be electric. There's no turning back for the automakers. I've met all of them, and they all have very significant electrification platforms going forward. So it's a really exciting time to be in the lithium space, and particularly as part of that next wave of lithium supply to the market. A little bit on Western Australia and spodumene. I often get asked the question, well, why Western Australia? Well, firstly, as the Minister this morning pointed out, Western Australia accounts for around 50% of all lithium molecules supplied to market come from this state. And that's really significant. Chile accounts for about 30% of supply. There's a little bit coming out of Argentina, a little bit out of Africa, and a little bit out of China. But this year I'm forecasting close to 60% of the world's lithiums will be supplied from Western Australia. Really important. We've done it before. We're well branded internationally. The Koreans, the Japanese, the Chinese, the Europeans, the Americans, they know we can do it. And importantly, we're a real stable economy. And most importantly, we have a really sophisticated commercial technical workforce. And I don't say this lightly, but on a per capita basis, Western Australia has the highest lithium expertise anywhere on the planet. And that's really important in terms of bringing the next wave of projects to market. And I think the global EV value chain is starting to recognise this. Certainly the big battery players acknowledge that Western Australia has a real strength in this space. And the second part is why spodumene? There's other forms of lithium. Well, first and foremost, speed to market. This market is tighter than I've ever seen it in 10 years. And we need more tonnes in market. And spodumene, we've done it before, many times over. So we've got the expertise here in terms of the contractors to be able to deliver these plants. And therefore the risk points are being reduced quite significantly. The flow sheets are being improved. There's a lot more IP being developed here in Western Australia. So typically we can get first tonnes in market post-FID between 2 and 3 years. And that's really significant. If you compare that to some of the other resources globally, it's a much longer time frame. And secondly, the quality. Again, I've been selling spodumene into China for 10 years. And I've been selling lithium chemicals produced from spodumene for the last 6 years. And one thing I can say is that the industry prefers lithium chemicals produced from spodumene concentrate. It's a better quality and it's more consistent. And that's a really important point. So a little bit on our strategic. So earlier this year, in Feb, we announced a partnership, a 10-year strategic offtake with Suzo TANA. This company may not be a household name here in Western Australia, but certainly in China, one of the biggest. They're the controlling shareholder of Yibin Tianli, which is one of the largest lithium hydroxide producers in China. And they also have an association with CATL, which is the largest electric vehicle battery producer on the planet. So this is a really important and strategic for us. They own 9.9% of the company. They've committed to us the requirement to bring capital to this project, which is really important. But what they also do is provide us access to downstream lithium expertise, and that's really important. So we're really well integrated. We've chosen our strategic partners very carefully. I'll talk about MinRes in a moment, but they give us the access to the upstream lithium expertise. So MinRes, 5% stake in the company as a result of this last cap raise. Again, need no introduction, an unrivaled track record in terms of delivering spodumene projects on time and on budget. Unparalleled experience in terms of the services they can offer on the upstream part of our business. Haulage, crushing, build, own, operate, they can do it all. So they're a fantastic partner for us, and again, they give us that access to the upstream lithium expertise. But importantly, in terms of strategic positioning, if you look at the location of our assets, Marble Bar and Wodgina, owned the Albemarle MinRes joint venture, very similar geological setting, very similar line of latitude. And similarly, our second project, Manna, out east of Kalgoorlie, Mount Marion is only about 130 kilometres from us. So from a strategic positioning and synergy perspective, there's going to be some great opportunities, we feel, with MinRes as a partner. ESG, we touched on that. If you're not doing something in ESG in this sector, you're really being negligent as a director. So we have a campaign that we've commenced. I'm not going to sit here and tell you we're at the end of the road. ESG is a journey, and it should be for all of us. But certainly by the end of this year, we'd like to present a more formal strategy to the team. But we're really focusing on not buzzwords. We want to be able to report specific KPIs and be able to report on those on an annual basis. So we take our ESG responsibilities very seriously. A little bit on our Marble Bar lithium project, which we own 100%. I'll get through this in the interest of time quite quickly. There's four sort of key areas I'd like to unpack here. Firstly, the geology, the deposit itself, which brings itself to quite significant upside potential in terms of our exploration campaign. And the infrastructure, absolutely critical for the success of a project in the lithium space. There's a lot of good projects out there in paper on a global basis. If you look at the grade and the resource, there's a reason they're not in production. So again, looking at the synergies, fat fingers, apologies for that. Pilgangoora, Wodgina, Marble Bar, huge tenement package. So we're just at the start of our journey in terms of our maiden resource, 10.5 million tonnes, very similar geological setting as I mentioned earlier. The upside potential is really on our drill campaign this year, 60,000 metres of RC. Which we've already commenced. This asset is open at strike, so we've got some tremendous upside. And then getting back to the infrastructure, we're only 150 kilometres from port, and Port Hedland is famous as an export terminal for running spod cons into global markets. A slide for the geos. Again, I talked about the very aggressive tenement acquisition that we made last year, the Archer deposit, which underpins our maiden resource. Is in the middle there, and our drill campaign at the moment is really positioned to the south. There's some really good opportunities. Some good grades coming through. We've got 1.3s, 1.4%, and importantly, a lot of these pegmatite dikes are open at depth and at strike. So again, upside potential. Pictures of progress. I'd just like to show again, this is a exposed pegmatite at surface, lithium, spodumene bearing pegmatite. There's a lot of pegmatites out in the world, very few that are spodumene bearing. We have one of those. And again, we've got our drill rig on site here. You can see some of the progress in the middle photo and one of the field is collecting core samples. So Manna, just again, skipping through, focusing on the geology. Again, very similar to Marble Bar. It's an outcropping spodumene-bearing pegmatite, one of those very rare beasts. We've got some really good grades coming through on this particular deposit. Quite good intercepts, 17-metre intercepts. Again, we have a maiden resource. We're not starting fresh. This is, again, just the start for us. We've got a 20,000-metre campaign scheduled this year. Importantly, the maiden resource of almost 10 million tonnes was underpinned on less than 4,000 metres of drilling. We've got a 20,000 metre campaign, which we'll be starting in a couple of weeks. So huge upside. We're really excited about this project. And again, infrastructure is key. We can access the labs in Kalgoorlie. We've got a labour pool in Kalgoorlie. We've got contractors in Kalgoorlie. So fantastic infrastructure. And again, we can export out of Esperance. Again, one for the geos. Apologies for the small print here, but there's some terrific grades up here, 1.8s, 1.9s, 1.6s, 1.5% lithium oxide. So importantly, this asset is open at surface in multiple directions. So our drillers are, they literally cannot wait to get on site. And again, just showing you some of the intercepts here, up to 17 metres, again, open at depth. So there's a lot to work with from an exploration side. A few photos, just waiting on that POW, and we're going to have a drill rig on site. We have secured a drill rig, so we currently have 2, both at Marble Bar, and we'll be sending one of those rigs down to our Manna project as soon as that POW is received, which is imminent. So just wrapping up, this is a runway ahead for us. Again, a key point I'd like to make, we're just getting started as a company, but as an industry. The battery materials industry, and particularly the electrification industry, has a long way to run. So just comparing our projects here, Marble Bar and Manna, we're running them both in parallel. Really aggressive, significant drilling campaigns, which will take us through the end of Q3, followed up with diamond drilling in Q3 at both of the assets. And assays and met testing will be run in parallel in batches throughout the course of this year. So we'll be releasing those results to market accordingly. And of course, our Enviro baseline surveys will get started along with our heritage surveys, and they'll be ongoing at both sites. So just finishing up, key point is we're multi-asset, gives us great diversification, great spread. 2 highly prospective projects, almost 20 million tonnes on a combined equity basis of about 1.04%. And again, that's just our maiden position. Very aggressive exploration campaign that will take us through the Q3. We really feel there's going to be some great results to share with the market in the coming months. And of course, great infrastructure, really important. A strong team, really focusing on our ESG fundamentals. I think we're going to see an increasing focus on ESG and what companies are doing in this space, particularly given we're competing against internal combustion engine technology. So yeah, we're really expecting a very strong pipeline of news over the next 12 to 18 months. And again, we're just getting started. So my last slide, just touching on our values and our purpose. And it's really 3 key things: people, power, planet. And this is the future. And, safety, absolutely important, but we want to own it. We're not a lifestyle company. We're actually doing some amazing things. And, if our shareholders are happy now, wait till you see us in a couple of years. We've got really big plans. We hope you can share in our success. So thank you. This is my last photo. Beautiful time of day. This is sunrise at Marble Bar. So thanks very much.